Today, I'm going to teach you how to career train efficiently in Umamusume and set yourself apart from the other players. You've probably been wondering why some players are already dominating in PvP with A+ horses in just 2 weeks. And it's not because of luck, it's because they're making the right choices before the career training even begins. Yep, success that starts before you even hit the start button. They understand their Uma's needs, their career race path, and build around that. And I get it, this is one of the hardest things to learn as a beginner. There's a ton of moving pieces and overwhelming information. But the good news, you found the guide that's going to break it all down for you step by step and keep it simplistic. So hit that subscribe button if you're new here and let's get started. Once you're in the career menu, the first thing you need to do is choose your Uma, and you're going to want to pay close attention to track and distance. Let's use Rai Xiao as an example. Her career path includes mainly medium and long distance turf races. She also has 1 mile race, and we can see that her rating for mile is only at a C. And knowing that in advance will help us plan how to cover her weaknesses, but more importantly, boost her strengths so that she performs even better on her preferred track. And to do this, we need to pick a legacy. Legacy selection. After picking your Uma, you'll need to pick 2 legacy, being 2 horse skills. These Umas will inspire your Uma via spark inspirations, giving you boosts in stats, race bonuses, and strategy bonuses. Note that you can't use a horse skill as her own legacy, so you can't use Daiwa Scarlet for Daiwa Scarlet, for example, because she's her own person, her own horse girl. Anyway, back to Rai Xiao. We need to find a legacy that helps complete her career on medium to long races mainly, so we need to boost her stamina as a priority, but also power and speed. Ideally, we could improve her mile rating to help her with that spring stakes race, but it's not mandatory. And the thing is, you might not have good legacies built yet, and that's okay. And we're going to fix that with an early hack. Barring a guest legacy, we're going to back out of our career, go to Team Trials, and click on that little info button on the top right. Now, look for high-ranked players you can still follow, where the follow button is not grayed out, where they've just had so many people follow them. You're going to want to look for a profile that has a good horse skill and also a good support card. Or we could say maybe meta support cards. Once you've followed a few, go back to the legacy selection, tap guest, and borrow one of the Umas. You can use a guest horse skill up to 3 times a day, and they'll typically have better stats than yours early on in the game. Now, I'm going with this one because it helps me boost speed, and Rai Xiao's mile rating from C to B, which will help her with the spring stake race. Now, for your second legacy, you have to pick one of your own Umas. Ideally, you want stamina here, but I only have speed, so we're gonna go with that. Luckily, that bumped my mile rating up to A as well. So we're going to be in great shape for that early career hurdle. And here's another tip. Your legacies also pass down skills randomly. And if you're doing a lot of PvP, skill inheritance RNG is one of the many variables that you'll have to account for when completing a career. We'll cover how that system works in a separate video, but for now, focus on stats, track types, and distance compatibility. Support cards. Now it's time to choose your support cards. Rai Xiao relies heavily on stamina because she's a medium to long racer, and stamina is especially good for long distance races. So you'll generally want to bring at least 2 stamina type support cards into your build with her. That said, top tier support cards like Super Quick and Fine Motion are so strong that they fit in nearly any comp. So don't hesitate to include 1 or 2 flexible picks from speed, power, or skill types, especially if they're offering strong events, good stats, or useful skills for your Uma's career tracks. Also, for your friend's support card, pick a card that provides EP boost, which is basically event points, so you get more event points, which translates to more completion and more rewards for the events as well. Again, support cards are critical for stat growth, relationship events, and skills. So it's going to take you some time to know what works best with certain Umas, and that is something you're going to gain from experience. So right now, I suggest focusing on the best support cards that are out there at the moment, being Super Creek and also Fine Motion, and also getting one in that gives a lot of EP boost. But that naturally also fits your Uma. So it's time we begin the career. Once you've started the career, you actually get a spark of inspiration straight away, which is your legacies passing down stats immediately. For Rice, we're going to get an immediate big speed boost because that's just what we selected based on the Uma we picked for our legacy. And after that happens, you're going to get to this screen, and I'm going to explain here what everything does and how everything works. Core mechanics you must watch for. There are 3 big things to manage every single turn. The first one is energy. Training consumes energy, resting restores it with an RNG of 30, 50, and 70. 70 being the one you want the most. So these results are random, and you will get restored a certain amount of energy that is mostly different every time, but the most common result that you'll get is 50. Mood. Mood impacts training output, and a bad mood weakens gains, but it actually seriously also affects race performance. A bad mood for your Uma reduces her race performance, including speed, positioning, and responsiveness. This can cause them to miss positioning strategies like keeping up in the middle group or not triggering overtakes. And in addition to that, it also affects the chances of skill activation. So it's a big one. Turns left. Turns is basically your actions before the next race. So it's important to manage these accordingly and know how to find the right balance between the decisions that you make whilst you're doing your career. Now, training, rest, recreation, and the infirmary all cost 1 turn each. So you have to be smart about your turn economy. That's literally the whole point of the career training. It's all about turn management and making the right choices. Also, don't train with low energy because it risks injuring or giving a condition to your Uma and forces a turn to be used at the infirmary. Training types and how support cards work in the career training. Each training activity boosts a main stat: speed, stamina, power, guts, and wits. They also provide secondary stats as well and all cost energy except for wit, which actually restores some. Now, what to bear in mind here is, and what you're going to have to do is focus on whichever stat aligns with her race distance within her career training. So if your Uma mostly has short races, you're going to want to focus on speed the most, but also power and some guts. If your Uma mostly has mile races, you're going to want to focus on speed, power, and some stamina as well. And if your Uma is mostly on medium races, you're going to want to balance speed, stamina, and power. And if your Uma mostly does long distance races, you're going to want to focus on stamina the most, with just a little bit less speed, but also some focus on power as well. But then again, that also depends on what running style your Uma is, because there are multiple types. And for example, if you are running Raishawa, who is an end closer, you're not going to want to run guts. You're going to want to run mostly power as the third stat because she needs to push through towards the end. I'll make a separate video about that as well, so we can go into much more depth, because if I dive into it too much here, it's going to be an overwhelming amount of information. And right now, I'm just trying to get you on the right path to do your careers and experiment with the information that you need the most. So let's keep going. Now, you also must stay on alert for support cards that are going to appear randomly at each turn on each training type. And when a support card appears in a training slot, doing that training will increase their bond level with that support card, and the more you train with them, the faster you build the bond. And at 80 bond, you unlock friendship training, aka Rainbow Glow. And you should try to focus on progressing towards friendship training, because once the bond reaches the friendship threshold, they'll appear with that rainbow aura on their preferred training type, and they'll grant massive stat boosts when they train with you. And training with them has also got chances to trigger support events, that is basically dialogues that give you skill hints, stats, or mood boost. And these events often unlock new passive or race skills as well, depending on if you answer them correctly, with some of them not even requesting you to answer anything. Now, I know I just mentioned a new word there, hints, and I'll get to that just in a moment, but we're just going to carry on with the whole basics here. To recap on support cards, their placement is random at each turn, and more support cards in a training means you'll be growing your friendship with those cards simultaneously and eventually get a whole bunch of gains. There are certain ways to balance this. Obviously, you should try and focus on the training types that have the most support cards on it on that turn, so you XP the most of them together with the friendship, but also look out for those support cards that are just really good for your Uma, the ones that you selected that you know you want to max out as quick as you can. So you can make exceptions where you're going to train a stat type that isn't meant for your Uma if there is a lot of support cards gathered over there on that turn, because it will make it worth it, because you're building a lot of bond simultaneously with multiple support cards. But you still have to keep in mind that you got to keep an eye on your main stats. So for Raishawa, we need to make sure that her stamina is always on the top. And if I'm getting close to the race, which is a long race, and my stamina is like below my speed, because I just got too tempted to train on stats that just had multiple support cards that I didn't necessarily need at that time, well, I'm going to get bummed, and I'm most likely going to lose that race. So you're going to need to find that balance, and you will eventually. I promise you that. Support card events. Now, one more thing I need to talk about with support cards is the events. Throughout your training run, support cards will trigger random events tied to their character, and these events offer rewards, and you're going to have to answer a question at the end of each event. And you can use the website gametora.com and go to support cards, pick the support card that you basically have an event for, and scroll to the bottom, And you can see that if you hover over it or just click on the event name, it will show you the answers, but also tell you what exactly you're going to get from answering that way. So it's super important because you can plan your whole career around these support events as well and make up for like lower stats that you need that you just can't seem to catch up on. You also often get a skill hint offered at a discounted cost when you go to the skill page, or sometimes you might just unlock a new skill outright. Like I said before, I don't want to overwhelm you. There's plenty of time for us to cover this in another video. And right now, we need to stay on track to get you through your first career efficiently. But just to recap on the support card events, do the right answers matter? Absolutely. One is usually better for your Uma depending on her turn and her needs. And some choices may actually reduce mood or give worse stat spreads as well. And before I forget, also, as you know, we spoke about support card events, you also got to be mindful for trainee events, which is basically Uma's events where you can go to GameTora.com again, just pick the Uma you're training for, and you can see the right answers right at the bottom, depending on what event it is. Not all of them are there, but most of them are. Friendship training and rainbow boosts. Once support cards reach max bond, they trigger friendship training. These are rainbow-colored versions of the training activities and give huge stat boosts. Is it worth doing even if it's not your main stat? I mean, yes, conditionally. So let's say you're on track with your main stat goals and your mood is great before a race as well. Then it's usually very worth to grab the rainbow training for value. But again, there are so many things that come into account when making these kind of decisions, and it's all going to come down on where you are at with your Uma at that time. If you're before a race, if the mood is likely going to drop based on the event. There is so much that comes into play, and you automatically pick up on these things as you play the game. Don't stress out too much, and as long as you understand the principles and how to, be mindful of certain things that get triggered or are picking the right answers on events, then you're doing the best you can for now, and you will get better as you play more. Another thing we need to speak about here is managing risks. When your energy gets low, you'll start seeing failure percentage on trainings. I would say don't risk anything over 25% unless you're desperate and you feel like, you know what, I'm going to mess up at this next race anyway, I might as well take a chance. But if that's not the case, instead you should rest or even sometimes recreate. It just depends on which scenario you're at within the career. For example, if you're at a beach training session, this merges the rest and recreate tasks into one, costing only one turn to do both at the same time, increasing your energy and your mood simultaneously. So I'm not going to get into too much about skills, but what I want to say about skills today is that when you are about to pick a skill, it's best to wait for the race to actually pop up, check the race so you can learn what to look out for, and then go back to your skills to see what skill can help you for this race. There is a lot to know about skills, and you can see actually the race distance sometimes in brackets, and that can also help you make the right choice depending on what race you're at. So if you're racing on firm ground and you have a skill that increases your performance on firm ground, you're going to want to go for it, and even more if the hint level is high. And here as well, another example, as you can see, we're on a right-handed track, so we should also pick the skill here that says right-handed track because it's going to improve our Uma's performance throughout that entire race. So there is a lot of reading involved, but don't worry because, everything about support cards passing down skills during training, and the legacy Umas you picked will also pass down skills through inheritance called Spark Inspirations, and we're not going to go into too much into that now either because it's just going to overwhelm you. Something also that's handy when you are doing your career training is that you can actually check the goal/race you are preparing your Uma for next within the career training. You also sometimes during your Uma's career have to increase her fan base to participate in the next big race, and if you don't do this, your career will simply end. So it is important. It's best to first trainer to the edge of the day so you get more stats so you're guaranteed to win that race. So push it to the last day and then take on the race. Just make sure you win it. And you also then have to pick your races smartly. So following the stars and the recommended ones will guide you to what's best for your whole skill. So for now, just keep it easy like that. The Make Debut race is your first race and a very important one of that. You don't need to worry about your energy levels when it comes to races as it has no effect on your race performance whatsoever. But we do have to check your mood. Well, when it comes to your mood, it's too late anyway. You can't improve your mood unless you lose. And if you do lose, you're going to get 3 clocks, which if you're under great, it will improve it upwards. And for the next screen, I don't want you to worry about too much of what you see here other than strategy. This is pretty much automatic, but you want to pick whichever one has the best ranking for your Ume. So we'll go into more detail with that again in another guide. especially if, you know, you guys want me to do more stuff. But for now, just pick the highest rank for Yume. And here we go. So our skill firm conditions activated because we're on a firm racetrack, which immediately gives our Ume an advantage over the others. Rice Shower's strength lies in long distance runs, but also increasing her speed near the end of a race thanks to her unique skill, Blue Rose Closer, because she's an end closer. And of course, my girl won. And that's because I've looked after her in the first turns of her career. So that's all I want to touch on in this video. But as you can see from what we've just covered, you know, this game lies in how you balance your career training, you know, stats, maximizing support bonds, and etc. Runs are mostly randomized, so flexibility is key, and you're going to have to, you know, multitask a lot of things at the same time and keep an eye out on things that are very crucial, such as mood, which again might not look like it's worth much, but not only does it affect your output, but also affects how well you're going to perform in a race. So you have to keep that in mind, that mood can break or make a run for your girl. So treat your girl like a queen, especially if it's Rice Shower, because she's a moody little cutie. Anyway, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, and I'll do my part and keep bringing you high-effort Umamusume guides packed with tips and tricks to help you succeed. This was Static. Remember to have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.